World right here?
I don't know.
Emily, even though I'm at home up in my attic and I can put out God's World, what does that remind me of?
The whole world?
Now, what is my God? God? What else? Remind us that we're all together, that we're linked together, that this ties us to our space at church, and that we're all part of God's world, no matter where we are, no matter if we're playing around at home with our markers, or we're listening to stories, or we're trying to deal with our technical difficulties. Emily, who was it?
Daniel?
Daniel, is that right, Logan?
Yes, because I took a quick look at my brother's book cover and it said Daniel.
It's in your, you have it in your book. That's great. Okay. And the king liked him and he did a good job for the king.
Daniel,
Now,
chapter 6.
in this land, yeah, that's right, Logan, it's chapter 6. In this land, things were really different than it was back home. They had different rules. They had different kinds of food, and they also had different and many different kinds of gods. And some of the gods were made out of, do you guys remember? What were they made out of?
Gold?
Gold and silver and
Diamond?
maybe diamonds. We don't know. They were bronze, iron. Some of them were made out of wood, Logan.
Oh,
And some were made out of stones.
my cat keeps looking.
So all of these gods was not the same as Daniel's God. There were other men who worked for the kings and they were jealous of Daniel. Do you know why they were jealous, Logan?
No.
No?
Because he had gold and everything on him.
He didn't have gold on him, but he was more...
He was the king's most favorite guy.
Exactly. Daniel was more important than all the other guys. Logan, the
Yep.
guys who didn't like Daniel, do you remember what they did? They came up with a plan.
to throw Daniel into the lion's den, and I know more.
Okay, what was their plan? Do you remember
Their
what their
plan
plan
was to
was?
Their plan was to make a new rule that if anybody else prayed to God, they would get thrown into the lion's den.
That's right.
And only if they prayed to him, they would not throw them into the lion's den. And
That's right.
And Daniel prayed to God, so he got thrown in the lion's den.
The king made a new rule that people could only pray to the king. And the punishment was pretty awful, wasn't it, Mason? All the time. So he prayed to God and only to God. It was more important than following the rules. What happened after he prayed to his God, Logan?
He got thrown into the lion's den, and then an angel came and saved him. And then the next day, the king came to check on Daniel.
That's right.
And he was okay. And he changed the law that they could all pray to God.
They all should pray to God. I think that's really important in this part of the story to realize that that Daniel was the king's friend, and it was very hard for the king to decide to throw Daniel. When the king woke up the next morning, he was very anxious to see if Daniel was okay. And was it a miracle, Mason, when the king went down and saw Daniel the next day? Maybe. What happened? What did the king see, do you think?
Honestly, I'm not even paying attention.
Oh, I appreciate your honesty, Mason. Thank you for that. The king saw that Daniel was okay. He was thrown in to be lion dinner, and God sent an angel to close the mouth of the lion, and Daniel did not have a single scratch on him. And after that, the king could believe that God was the true God and he made a law, right, Logan?
Yep.
And what was the law that the king made now?
That they can all pray to God.
They all can and they all should, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What can we learn or what do you learn about God when you hear this story? What can you learn about God in this story? Everybody.
That the king learned that everybody should pray to God.
Yeah, he had to learn something, didn't he?
Yeah.
Ben, what did you learn?
I learned something at school.
Oh, can you tell me what you learned in this story?
Well, what else was I tell you what I learned in school?
Well, tell me what you learned from Daniel and then tell me about school.
I actually know that he got thrown into the lion den.
That's right. He did get thrown in. So that's what you've learned. Emily, what did you learn at school today, Ben?
Mm,
And cut.
I learned that we have to study on bikes.
You have to do what on bikes?
We have to share them.
Oh, you have to share them. Emily, what is that? Oh, is that an angel?
Yeah,
Will you put that on your God's world when you find it?
sure.
Awesome. What did you learn in this story, Emily?
That it's okay to pray to God.
It's okay to pray. It's probably more than okay. It's probably a really good idea. Would you agree? What'd you hear in the story?
These are my angels walking
Oh,
up to go into the party.
I see it.
Okay.
Mason, can you share one thing that you heard in this story that you learned, maybe something about God? What would that be?
He didn't get scratched by
He
the
did not
lion
get. Why do you think that was?
because God and the angels didn't want him to get eaten and die.